Welcome to our episode of Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down. Sponsored by Bible Interact and hosted by Dr. George Sparks. Now let's explore the field of archaeology in today's episode.
Welcome, people. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and my host is Dr. David Graves. He received his PhD from Aberdeen University in Scotland. Today, we got an interesting topic. As always, we're continuing the subject on husband and wife team archaeologists. This is Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down, sponsored by Bible Interact. And David, today, the husband and wife team are going to be Carol and Eric Meyers from Duke University.
Cool.
And they made some pretty cool discoveries. Now, since this is what we do, we know of their discoveries, but a lot of those people that are out there don't. So today we're going to take that opportunity to share it with our listening audience. And I'm sure you're going to have a great time. So we're going to start off with Carol Meyers.
It's always good to understand, I guess, the people behind the discoveries, because we see the discoveries in the museums, but we don't really know the faces and the people that are involved in the discovery of them. So go ahead, George, and introduce us to the Meyers.
All right, we're going to start with Carol Meyers. And Carol Meyers was born in 1942 in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. She went to Kingston High School in Kingston, Pennsylvania, is an American biblical scholar. Carol Meyers received her BA with honors from Wesley College, and she studied also at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem and participated in several excavations, which we're going to talk about. She earned both her MA and her PhD from Brandeis. I had to look that up. Brandeis is actually spelled Brandeis. So I thought, is it Brandeis? Of course not. It's Brandeis.
Brandeis.
Right? Brandeis University in the Department of Near Eastern Studies and Judaic Studies. You know, we always make a rabbit trail, but I made a mistake one time. I was talking to a professor from King's College, and I was going over his bio, and it was a university, and it's spelled Reading. Now I'm just reading this, and I said Readings University. It's not Readings. It's Readings. Yeah.
Readings.
And I thought, oops, right? So there you go. Since 1976, Meyers has been on the faculty of Duke University since 1976. That's the bicentennial for us here in the lower 48, as you call it, where she is currently the Mary Grace Wilson Emerita Professor. That's not emeritus, it's emerita, which means it's an honor given to a female professor in the Department of Religion. Her archaeological work has included leadership positions in the Gaza, Nazareth, and Sepphoris excavations. Dr. Meyers is the recipient of many scholarships and fellowships. In 1990 and 1991, she was a visiting professor at Princeton University. In 1999, she received the Wesley College Alumni Achievement Award. She has also been a frequent consultant for media productions, has served as the president of SBL, and is currently a trustee at ASOR, the Albright Institute, and the Dead Sea Scroll Foundation. In addition to publishing more than 450 articles, reports, and reviews, Meyers has authored and co-authored or edited many books. These include Doubleday's Anchor Bible commentaries on Haggai and Zechariah, Discovering Ancient Israelite Women in Context, Oxford University Press back in 1988. Women in Scriptures, a dictionary of the names and unnamed women in the Hebrew Bible, the Apocryphal and Deuterocanonical books, and the New Testament, and the Exodus, Cambridge University Press in 2005. She has co-authored with her husband, Eric Meyers, excavations at Ancient Nazareth, which would be the synagogue, 2006, the publisher. Her rediscovering, this is her book, Rediscovering Eve in 2013 is a landmark study of women in ancient Israel. Her 1988 book, Discovering Eve, going back to it, Ancient Israelite Women in Context, was the first comprehensive effort to present a female-centered view of the Bible using historical rather than just literary curriculums. All right, that's something about Dr. Carol Meyers, or I should say Professor Carol Meyers, who is now emerita. Now we have her husband, Eric Meyers. I think a husband and wife team. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay,
quite the
Eric
resume.
Meyers. Go ahead. Did you say
Just quite the resume that she's got.
that is? And both of them have a very illustrious background. If you've been around since 1976, a professor at a university, that's quite some time.
Yeah.
Eric Meyers is a 1962 graduate from Dartmouth College, holds a MA in Near Eastern and Judaical Studies from, once again, I think this is, of course, where they met, Brandeis University, and received his PhD with distinction from Harvard University in Near Eastern Languages and Literature, specializing in the Bible and Jewish history as well as archaeology. Since 1969, he has been on the faculty of Duke University, along with his wife. You know how hard it is? Well, you know how hard it is. I don't know how hard it is to be a professor. I mean, we got thousands of individuals that have studied and received their PhDs, but how many of those actually get to be a professor of any sort? Very few.
Right. Yeah, it's rare.
And here's and a husband and wife team at the same university is extremely rare, folks. It's really very, very unique. Since 1969, he has been on the faculty of Duke University, and he is currently the Bernice Ann Morton Lerner Professor of Judaic Studies. He serves as the director of the graduate program in religion from 1979 to 1985, associate director in 2000 to 2001, and the director again in 2001 to 2007. In 1972, he was instrumental in founding of the cooperative program in Judaic Studies at Duke University and also UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. You know who's there now? Jody Magnus.
Jody Magnus, yeah.
Yeah. Of which
I've been there.
You've been there?
I've been there. Actually, there was one of the dissertations I needed for my PhD was there. And back in those days, I wasn't able to get it photocopied and sent to me. So I had to go down in person. I was down there for a trip and stopped at Chapel Hill and was able to get into the library and get a photocopy of it and use it for my dissertation. So,
all right. And since we're talking briefly about the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, we had Professor Jody Magnus on our program.
Right.
And yes, and she just has a book published, Jerusalem Through the Ages, and it's a really good book. So I'll throw that in there, a plug for her book. Director of the Center of Judaic Studies at Duke from 1972 to 1987. Meyers resumed that role again in 2002, a position he still holds. Right? From 1975 to 1976, he served as the director of the W.F. Albright School of Archaeology Research in Jerusalem. From 1982 to 1990, he served as the first vice president for publications of American School of Oriental Research, which founded the Jerusalem School in 1900. So I talk about early 1900. He served as the director of the prestigious and award-winning magazine Biblical Archaeologist 1982 to 1992, and as associate director of the Bulletin of the American School of Oriental Research in 1976 to 1993. In 1990, he became the president of American Schools, a position he held until 1996. He was elected again to serve as president from 2006 to 2008. He was also director of the Edinburgh Research Institute until 1991 to 1992. Now, something about both of them together. Carol and Eric Meyers are renowned archaeologists, best known for two significant discoveries. The Mona Lisa of Galilee, a mosaic discovered in Sepphoris, and the oldest known Torah Ark. Now, we'll get more into explaining this a little later. Okay, and that was Nabertine. The Mona Lisa was part of a larger floor mosaic, depicts scenes from the life of Dionysus, and is a striking example of Roman art and religion. The Torah Ark, found once again in Nabertine, dates back to the 3rd, 4th century Common Era, CE, and is significantly older than any previously discovered examples. So the Mona Lisa of Galilee. We're going to show pictures of that. And David, you did have some Tesla, those little cubes. I don't know if you want to show that for the listening audience at this point.
Yeah, we can. Since the the Mona Lisa and the mosaics that they've discovered are made up of these little pieces of tile, and they usually create a picture or a pattern. So here's one that I've put together myself. These are original on the corners that I've discovered. Used them on a mosaic I put together myself. And the word tessera is what we usually call these little pieces of stone. And they come in different sizes. You can generally tell the time period. So here's a few of them that I have in my collection. These are just little tiny, and they come in different colors. This one's red. You see the red on it. Some are yellow, some are blue. And then we have, I have a whole bunch here. There's a lot of different ones, little tiny ones. And
Hey,
then
if you
there's a lot
would,
of bigger
could you
ones.
show us the difference between the size of Byzantine cubes versus the Roman period cubes, and designate which size is used for the Mona Lisa? Okay, there you go. It's got to be in front of your beard. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little red one. And there's the white one.
So which one is Byzantine and which one is Roman period?
This one here is probably Byzantine. That's because I got it from a small mosaic. I'll put pictures up there. This one, and this one was part of a very rare mosaic that I discovered. Well, I didn't discover it, but I investigated it. It's in a banana field in Jordan. So there's a Byzantine church there, and there's a beautiful mosaic of a chalice. Today, it's part of a Muslim cemetery. They've dug down into it, but they're growing marijuana all around it, so you can't get to it. That's why you're
So there's several reasons why you shouldn't get there, because of the cemetery and because of the marijuana.
exactly. And it's not well known where it's located. My guide that I was digging with knew where it was, so Joseph took me there, and we had to be going in stealth mode. I was able to get in and examine it and take photographs of it, and I published it in our re-examination of the location of Livius in that journal called Levant. But this is one of the tessera that was broken away, laying on the ground, and so I picked it up in order to get a sample of it. And it's got the red on it, but I'll show a photo of the beautiful chalice that tells me that it was part of a Byzantine church at one time. This one, I think this one was from the Roman remains at Tel El Hammam, if I'm not mistaken, a little piece. I've got a few of those as well in my little collection.
Okay.
So, and I think, I'm not sure what size the original ones were of the Mona Lisa
Okay, well,
mosaic.
we'll discuss that a
If I
little
saw
later
a
then.
photograph of it, I could probably tell,
Mhm.
but I don't recall from memory which size.
So I'm just curious, and then we'll move on with this. When you were out in the banana field, then you took pictures. You took pictures of this mosaic floor that's also been covered by cemetery, right?
Well, the floor itself of the church
Yes.
has been dug down into it to bury modern individuals, and they've got some little like sarcophaguses on the surface.
Right. I understand.
So they've dug down through it, damaged it. But what I was able to see was the remains of the floor still exist. It wasn't covered with dirt, or not much dirt, so it was easy to see, and it was pretty beautiful, really. And really a shame, and quite a large area.
Well, the most when they show the picture of the Mona Lisa Galilee, which we'll show, that's just a small segment
Right.
of the mosaic floor that was uncovered. And originally it was in the open air, and then it was preserved, and then it was kind of like reattached. It was laid back down and cleaned and reattached to the floor, and now it's under a building for protection. But
Right.
at first, and this is over 20 years ago, it was open air. It'd just be there for everybody to walk by, and you could go down to the dig and see it. All right, so I'm going to continue with this.
Okay. Well, George,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
just mention that the word tessera is used for a number of different things.
Okay, yes, that's right.
A couple of them that there's about 6 or 8. I forget now how many different categories of tessera, because the word is used, or tokens used in the ancient Greek and in Latin. So here's a couple examples of some tessera. Whoop, get this
I
one
can see
turned
them.
around.
They're good. They're good.
I'm gonna turn around. This one here sort of resembles a gargoyle in Rome where you put your hand in and supposed to be able to tell the truth. That's the legend behind that. And then this one looks like an old philosopher, but these were called theater tokens. So depending on which theater show you were going to go from the Roman period, you'd get your theater ticket and then you'd get entry into the, but they also had coins. They also had militia pieces that were called tessera. I'll mention my book on it's a dictionary of biblical archaeology that I've put together, and you can look up tessera in it and
All right.
see. I've got some photos in there. But anyway, just so people know, these are called tessera, these little pieces, as well as that's a tessera. Go
So,
ahead then, George.
okay, briefly, when it said the scenes, the mosaic scenes are from that of the life of Dionysus. And that was a Roman deity that was kind of like, was known for, you could say, I'm going to say the way we can understand it more like the god of the parties, the god, the deity of wine. All
Right.
right. Because when people indulged in the fruit of the vine that was fermented, sometimes our characters change. So you got the sober self, and then you have the one that is intoxicated.
And it connects and correlates to the Greek god Bacchus
Yes.
and Greek god of wine. So,
But in the ancient mind, they saw that more like a possession, that somebody is now taking over who you really are. Now, what they did to prevent this, you'll like this, David, to try to prevent from being intoxicated or drinking and being taken over by another spirit. Now, sometimes, you ever met an alcoholic that's a happy alcoholic? They
intoxicated.
laugh, they tell jokes, and then there's alcoholics that are just mean. They'll go from a comment and they'll just get mean. And I know I've met them. And there's some that are just happy and they laugh and everything's cool. So here's a switch in personality. It's like now this person is nothing but happy. So then they seem to be overtaken by a very happy spirit, or that's that personality that took over, or some could be very angry. But to prevent that from happening, those extra personalities, they wore amulets that tried to prevent this. And some of them were semi precious stones. All right. So the one that thought to prevent this switch in personalities was amethyst, the purple stone. I thought people like to know that. In the Roman world, the wearing of amethyst to a party is to prevent being overtaken by another identity when you're drinking.
So that's when you bring out your purple robes and wear them.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's a good one. Of course, there's going to be wealthy people at those kind of parties,
Your purple
especially when
murex dye, your
yeah.
purple murex dye that you'd wear just for those special occasions and when you go out and get intoxicated. All right,
So
George,
this
good.
Okay, the Mona Lisa of Galilee, this is a famous mosaic discovered in the city of Sepphoris, depicts the scenes, of course, the life of Dionysus, and is considered a remarkable piece of Roman art. So it's Roman. It was featured in various documentaries and exhibitions, and it has. Okay, this is where I'll add my little half. So when I was there over 20 years ago, the part that was preserved, the colorful part, the Mona Lisa and the decorative parts, the life of the party, the life of Dionysus. There were also, it's a very large room, and the peripheral borders around this Mona Lisa of Galilee were nothing but white tile, those light white cubes, thousands. And when they got done, there's just thousands and thousands of cubes. So I picked up like a Tupperware box full, just filled it full. And then I asked, this is somebody that was not Eric Meyers. It wasn't Eric Meyers. I couldn't talk to him. It was somebody at the dig, maybe a square supervisor. And they said, I said, this isn't going to be for me anyway, because I'm going to use this ends up in the museum and we'll advertise the Mona Lisa of Galilee and the whole story. He said, well, that'd be pretty cool because all these fragments are going to go somewhere, but we're just going to preserve this much. So I said, so I could take these. He says, just write a letter to the excavation at I forget where it was to. So I did, and here's a little fragment of the Lisa of Galilee for people to see. I'll put it by me. Now you can see that you got, it's almost like what do you want to call it, like a concrete or something that they set the tile into.
Plaster cement, yeah.
Yeah. So you can see how small the tiles were. And it was these types of tiles, this like you had, of different colors that they would, that's a big one. That's big. I think it's bigger, but it's the tiny one that you had in your hand. That's the size of these. These are, look at my finger now compared to these. These are tiny. Think how many thousands of these you have to do to make a floor. Now, you think they just, in their mind, they'd lay down these little cubes and they would like paint a picture with these cubes. That's not how they did it, David, because when they were preserving the floor, they found out that they would actually draw the picture on the surface first, and then they would lay the cube of that particular color. It'd be like coloring by number in a way.
Yeah, I don't know the size on them.
That's pretty cute because look at your fingernails. So that's about the same size right there. So this is giving you an indication of when we talk about this floor and what a mosaic and how it's put together, an idea of how it rolled. That's how they did it. And
well, these ones are from the Roman period. These ones were from the Roman Tel Hammam excavation. We didn't find any floor surviving. We just found a bunch of tessera from the excavation. So we knew there was a floor there somewhere in the Roman bath complex. But the other one was pretty much a Byzantine church based on the chalice and some of the other patterns that were there. No inscriptions that I could determine. They would have been removed, but it's a shame that I couldn't see all of it to figure out what the different areas were. But we'll put up a picture of the Mona Lisa there for everyone to see what we're talking about.
Right, absolutely. Now the second major discovery was from Nabertine. And it's what they Nabertine, Nabertine, and it was a synagogue they excavated at Nabertine. All right, so this is called the Torah Ark.
George,
discoveries. Go ahead.
I hear when you say that the Nabateans or
No.
Nabatea.
Nabratine. 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 Not
Nabatean.
Nabertine. Yes, not Nabatean.
So this is not Petra.
No, it's not Petra.
In Jordan.
No.
All right, just so if I'm confused,
I got little maps. Now I'll send you.
I'm sure that they'd be. Is it in Galilee?
Yes. So anyway, Nabratine.
Nabertine.
So the Torah Ark. Now, what is a Torah Ark? We think of the Ark of the Covenant, and that's where we think that's where the Ten Commandments were, along with other items like the bowl of manna and the staff that budded. That's all supposedly that was contained in the Ark. Now, later on, nobody knows what happened to that golden Ark. So as a representation of a location where they would place their scrolls, even today, the Torah scrolls, as the original documents were placed in the Ark. So this is represented. Let me call it like this. It's a religious descendant of the Ark of the Covenant. It's a storage place. So they call it the Torah Ark. It's more like a closet, right? So the Meyers discovered the oldest known Torah Ark, and I think it was made out of limestone.
Okay.
In a synagogue from Nabertine, dating back to the 3rd, 4th century CE, so Common Era. This ark, found while turning over a larger stone, is a significant find as it predates all previous examples by 1,000 years. Now that's being a fragment of an actual Torah Ark being discovered, at least at the time of this article when it was written. Now there are representations of Torah Arks on mosaic frescoes or carvings on stones. I know there's one, for instance, that you can see when you visit Capernaum, the Capernaum synagogue. It's set on the side, and it shows a little cart, and on that cart, a four-wheeled cart, and on it was the Torah Ark. So I guess if they wanted to take their scroll on a procession or out and wheel it out instead of carrying it. They had this. So they're different styles of arcs, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I
as
got a,
far as an actual ark being discovered or a fragment of this ark, this is a main one discovered by Carol and Eric Meyers that dates to the third, fourth century CE. It was found while in excavation, so it's actually found in situ and is underneath other rubble. This discovery also coincides. They found it. This was what was cool. They found it. It was discovered the same time the movie came out, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So like 1981, and it amplified the media attention that it received.
right.
So here's Indiana Jones and the Ark, the Lost Ark, Raiders of the Ark. It came out, big hit. And about the same time, they found that Torah Ark. So they wrote on it, publicity. Yeah.
So they planted the mosaic there to advertise the movie.
Well, that too. You never know. Things happen. Some people are just cagey like that, especially
Well,
when it comes to archaeologists. We
well,
need a lot of attention. A lot of
create
attention.
we'll create our own conspiracy theories on the channel.
Yeah.
They'll be complaining about that soon for us making our own conspiracy theories. But no, they found it, which happened to coincide with the release of the movie, so it was a big deal.
Mhm. Yeah, it is a big deal. It's kind of fun, and I think the best way to represent it is just to say a religious descendant from the Ark of the Covenant. There's a place to store their scrolls in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
And so it is very unique, seeing that it was at least like maybe 1,700 years old when they found it. So two great discoveries by a couple that met while studying at the same university, and then continued in as professors at Duke University. Both retired. One, Eric Meyers, emeritus, and of course Carol emerita.
Discovered
Yeah.
many, many different things over the years at their excavations and so forth, but these are just two of the more famous and recognizable
Right.
artifacts that we wanted to highlight today and tell everybody a little bit about tessera and what they are and our experiences
Mhm.
with mosaics. I love mosaics. They're among my favorite items next to oil lamps, just because they're so beautiful and the artwork that they display. So
Right.
apparently there was just a big one found and just not found, but displayed recently in Israel in the last week or so. People can Google it. It's just a beautiful, one of the best preserved and most magnificent mosaics they've ever discovered in Israel. So,
Now, something about Sepphoris is that is a very wealthy community that lived out there.
right.
And this is proven by the excavations because the Mona Lisa of Galilee is very unique, but it's also one of many um, mosaics that have been uncovered and preserved. So I always recommend if you're going to go visit Israel as a tourist, to go visit Sepphoris and look at the mosaics. Absolutely unbelievable. And also something unique about that community because you had both Gentiles and Jews living side by side. And this is also proven in the excavations, where on one side of the inhabited areas of the excavation, they found homes, residential domicile with mikvahs, the Jewish ritual baths, quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Also, they had, instead of having above ground water sources, they stored theirs underground. And the reason for that, and in other words, they didn't have above ground aqueducts going into the city. Their aqueducts were underground. And the reason for this, according to Josephus, is because they didn't want to ruin the view. Only wealthy people could think like that. I mean, just to have a water source, you'd think you'd be grateful. But no, don't bring that water source here like that. You're going to ruin our view, right? And they also were wealthy enough to have their own theater.
And
So they had their own.
the thing
Yeah.
about Sepphoris as well, people need to realize is that during the time of Jesus, it was being Herod Antipas was rebuilding it as his capital. And so he's probably living down in Perea, down south at Livius during this particular time.
Mhm.
But it was very close to Nazareth. So, and we know Jesus was from Nazareth, and being a, well, not carpenter, but stonemason, Keton.
You want to say a tecton?
Yeah, Tecton. He was probably one of the workers working at Sepphoris,
Mhm.
remodeling it, rebuilding it as the capital for the king. So, yes,
Yes.
so there were Jews living side by side beside the Gentiles, and they were very busy doing the reconstruction there. Okay.
That's a good point, because you're saying that Nazareth was not too terribly far from Sepphoris, where it was able to one was able to walk to Sepphoris from Nazareth, be gainfully employed, and then walk home in the evening and
Right.
do that day after day and
Yeah.
find consistent employment.
Right.
And scholars have suggested that. Some say no, some say yes. Some say that no, those that lived in Nazareth had that messianic hope that they wouldn't participate in any of that activity that goes on in Sepphoris. I've heard that scholarly debate as well. However, Jesus said it, we'll end with this. He talked about people of the Pharisees and the Sadducees as being hypocrites.
Right.
And a hypocrite is an actor or an actress of the stage, somebody that's playing a part and dressing up that is not sincere. So he says, oh, you dress up in your fancy robes and your garments,
You're
but you're
purple.
hypocrites. Yeah. But you're hypocrites. Another word. But for somebody to use that word, hypocrite, might be a little unusual unless they were familiar with its use. Now, somebody just growing up in Nazareth, and this has been debated, somebody just growing up in Nazareth, would they know enough to make that type of a representation with the word hypocrite? But Jesus used it in the scriptural narrative and did it very effectively. Another thing.
Well, also, George, if Jesus was God, then he certainly knew all things, and that wouldn't be information outside of his realm of knowledge. So,
All right. Okay, one more thing. And this is interesting for, I believe, a woman that followed Jesus.
if you can walk from Nazareth to Sepphoris, I'm
Right.
sure that Jesus did the walk. We know our neighborhoods and what have you, so there's no doubt in
What
my
woman
mind that
met
he visited more than within the realm of possibility, that he certainly visited it. Whether he worked there or not is up to speculation. And
Joanna, the wife of Cuso.
okay,
Joanna followed Jesus, and Cuso was Herod's administrator. There you go. And I think it's very fascinating that if he was Herod's administrator for the location of, let's say, a community that is rebuilding, then possibly she might have heard Jesus. It could be that when he was working, or possibilities at Sepphoris, she might have heard him talking and probably appreciated the message that he was ministering to the people, and then followed him along into Galilee. It said that she, along with other women, supplied him with substance. In other words, how did Jesus get all this support? Everything wasn't loaves and fishes. Like everything just isn't clapping as it appears. People supported the ministry. And she was one of those that had the wealth to support his ministry and followed him from Galilee all the way to Jerusalem and the cross and to the tomb. And I think that's pretty fascinating. So Herod was, of course, paying his administrator, Cuso, right? Probably pretty well. And she's probably using those finances that was coming from Herod to support Jesus in his ministry. What comes around goes around, I guess. It's pretty cool. But anyway, David, that's my story, and I'm stuck with it. And I got to get going.
well, that's a good overview of another husband and wife team that worked together and made some discoveries.
With that, we're going to sign off. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and this is Dr. David Graves. I know everybody had a good time with this one. It was a lot of fun to present it. If you would, don't forget to like and subscribe. Right now, David, we are at 223,000 subscribers. Thanks
Wow.
to everybody out there. We really appreciate what you're doing and your support. Until next week, you have a good day and have a good week. Thank you very much.
God bless.